Dum da dum da dum da dum da da da. Dum da dum da dum da dum da da da.
Can't everybody stop for 10 minutes? I mean, everybody seems that that's the only... Everybody, can we stick... I mean, it's not that much to ask. Is that when everybody has to move when I'm trying to concentrate? I mean, that's so rude. I can't believe it. Why does everyone all of a sudden have to move? Got 2 hours to move around. Wait 10 minutes. I'm sorry to explode by that, but it's like no one's ever worked before. I actually can't believe what I just saw.
Radio guys who don't have time for the facts.
I heard a dial tone. And there were 7 people. I mean, we need to use the studio for 15 minutes.
They're off to a great start, don't you think?
Hey, buddy, I'm not paying you to hear your thoughts on life.
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say.
I know that you do some terrible, terrible things, and I can prove that you do these terrible things, and sure enough, contained in the package was stuff to prove that I do terrible things.
Excuse me, is that your nose or did a bus park on your face?
I just love the way you talk.
Hail to the king, baby. Don't call me stupid.
Oh, right. To call you stupid would be an insult to stupid people.
Victory is mine. Got news for you, dude.
I'll use small words that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
The guilty pleasure offered by the existence of the Sideshow Bob is simple and understandable. 99 times out of 100. Nearly every time we partake of the movable falafel feast, he serves us nothing but comedy. Farce, slapstick, unconscious self-mutilation, the Sisyphus of morons, if you will. But this is the 100th time out of 100. It is not funny at all. That's on the record and documented. Americans who deserves better than the Sideshow Bob of commentators. We all do.
Well, I think you folks have a real fine show, and it's going to be successful just as soon as people find out what time it's on.
Oh, they're terrible. They're so terrible.
You want them to run through it again?
No, let's just move on. We have a lot to do.
All right, here we go. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on. Come on.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Terrible. What are you doing to me? You'll miss the opening. This is the most important number in the show.
This show's broken, has not even begun yet. Good. This show's unairable.
It's the Joel Oriend Show.
I can hardly wait.
Today's worst person in the world.
Joel, I love you, and please behave yourself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my son, Joel Oriend.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, today's show, quite frankly, can't go any worse than last week's show. A technical debacle here at the Farmhouse Studios. Didn't help that we were getting snowstorms last weekend, Friday and Saturday. As I said on the show last week, I had to climb up on the roof and clean off the dish because we're so far out in the sticks here that not only do we get direct TV, we don't get, high-speed internet or, like Time Warner or Verizon TV. We have dish internet as well. So there's a dish on the roof. And when it is raining, the internet does not work very well, nor does the TV, but the TV is better in the rain. And then, if it's a big snowstorm, and snow accumulates on either the TV or the internet dish, the internet or the TV goes out, and that was the case last week. So I climbed up and I cleaned it off and thought we were good to go, but still had some technical issues. But I think this week's going to be a little bit better. It was kind of like, the first week in college football. Not that this was the first week we're trying to do the show remotely, but it's kind of like Alabama taking on Al's truck driver school. And it being like 72 to 6 in the game. We were at Al's truck driving school in that game. That's one of those that the coaches would say, we're going to go in the backyard, we're going to dig a hole, we're going to throw that cassette in there or CD, or in this case, in this digital age, we're going to throw that micro SD card in the hole, we're going to bury it, and we're going to move on. No sense going back and listening to that and trying to trying to learn anything from it. I think what we learned is just don't do whatever we did in that last show. So I think we got a good show planned for you. We'll tell you who we have coming up on the show today. Got chances for you to win as well. So stay tuned for that if you'd like to win something from 92.1 The Team. And most shows obviously are starting with the draft, but we like to be a little bit more of a contrarians here on the show. We'll get to the draft. Bills didn't have a first-round pick, so nothing really to talk about in the first round with the Buffalo Bills. But what I do want to talk about is, so we've gotten, like last week, we had Don Beebe on to talk about the greatest comeback of all time with the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Oilers in the 93 wild card game. Down 35-3 with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. Bills come back and actually take a lead 38-35 in that game, and then Houston has to kick a field goal at the end to tie it to go into overtime, 38-all, and then the Bills win it in overtime. I want to bring in Tanner because we didn't get to this, because I know some people in this area went to that game, some stayed, some left and came back. Obviously, Tanner, you weren't born for that game, but I wanted to get your thoughts, though, on the greatest comeback. Would you still say that is the greatest comeback, or would you say the Patriots, and I know it's hard for a Bills fan to admit this, but the Patriots coming back from 25 down in the Super Bowl to beat Atlanta?
I'm going to say the Patriots coming back in the Super Bowl, and I know that might sound blasphemous coming from a Bills fan to pick against my own team as far as that goes, but I just think because, it was a bigger game, it was just, the Bills against the Texans was a wild card game. This was in the Super Bowl, the largest comeback in Super Bowl history. I mean, they were aided by some terrible play calling, but by Kyle Shanahan and, not taking the field goal when they were in range and trying to throw the ball. But all things considered, being that it was in the Super Bowl and, that history that was already surrounding Tom Brady, that, he was one of the greatest clutch players of all time. I think all things considered, the Patriots comeback against the Falcons in the Super Bowl is the greatest of all time. As much as it pains me to say that, just looking at it from an unbiased perspective, I hate to say it, but I think that one takes the cake for me.
Tanner, why don't we, before we go to break, let's do a couple things. We've been following this college fan tournament of what college has the biggest or most rabid fan base. We know Buffalo was in it and Syracuse was in it in the first round. Where are we sitting now with this tournament? I believe Syracuse made it to the second round.
They actually made it to the third round and then got bounced by Texas Tech. Buffalo was already out the last time we talked about it, but now we're down to the national championship. It's between USC and BYU.
Wow.
Or it's not USC, UNC.
Okay, well, I can buy that.
They do have a poll up on Twitter here for the finals between North Carolina and BYU, and there's already 40,000 votes.
Okay.
Looks like North Carolina's in the lead 52% to 48.
There you go. Well, Cuse made
Duke actually got bounced in the first round by Lehigh.
What?
Believe it or not.
Well, that's why people hate Duke, because those snobbish prep school kids are like, yeah, we don't even need to vote. We don't even care about that. We just win national championships. We don't have to vote for no stupid Twitter bowl. So that's probably why they lost to Lehigh. Congratulations to Lehigh. What a great upset that is. I wish that would happen in the tournament for real. And before we go to break, go ahead and throw out your Tanner trivia question here.
All right. Since it is the NFL draft, I figured I would hit you with some NFL draft trivia. So here we go. Since the AFL-NFL merger in 1970, there's only been one franchise that has not drafted a future Hall of Famer in the first round. Who is that team? And I will give you four choices. It's either the New York Jets, the Cleveland Browns, the Philadelphia Eagles, or the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, so one of those teams has not drafted a Hall of Famer in the first round.
Correct, since the AFL-NFL merger.
All right, that's a good question. So people can think about that. It's either the Jets, the Browns, the Packers, and who else?
The Eagles.
The Eagles. Okay, there's your choices. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have longtime defensive coordinator and head coach in the NFL, Wade Phillips, on. He was the defensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills in the mid-'90s, then the head coach of the Bills in the late '90s. Up until 2000, he was the head coach of the Bills for the Music City Miracle. I'm sure we'll get into that with Wade Phillips. He won a Super Bowl with the Denver Broncos as the defensive coordinator just a few years ago when they beat the Carolina Panthers. Peyton Manning as the quarterback. He had Von Miller and a great defense in Denver that year. He was in the Super Bowl just a couple years ago with the LA Rams as the defensive coordinator. Want to talk to him about his book, Son of Bum, Life Lessons I Learned from My Father About Football and Life, from Diversion Books. You can find it online wherever books are sold, Amazon and Diversion Books website. We'll give you a chance to win a copy of the book. You can text 363-TEAM, 363-TEAM, or email 921theteam@gmail.com. Also, if you have a question you would like us to ask Wade Phillips, you can text us at 363-TEAM. That's 363-TEAM. Then in the second hour of the show, we will have former NFL kicker Steve Christie on. Steve kicked for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Giants. He actually kicked the game-winning field goal in the greatest comeback of all time in that 1993 wild card game against the Houston Oilers. Kicked that game winner in overtime. Want to talk to him about that game, his memories of that, and his thoughts on his playing career and more. We'll be back right after this.
K&K Auto would like to let everyone know they are open for business. K&K Auto at 1200 Webbs Crossing Road, Hornell, can help with any automobile problem. Call for an appointment, 607-324-3362. That's 324-3362.
Hi, Saver. Walgreens here. We like the way you save. Take coffee. You know it doesn't have to cost $4 a cup, so you make your own. And co-pays on Medicare Part D. You save up to $5 and get 100 balance rewards points on each prescription when Walgreens is your preferred pharmacy. Save smartly on Med D. Walgreens. Trusted since 1901. Copay savings on Tier 1 generic drugs available through select plans that include Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy. Points cannot be earned in Arkansas, New Jersey, or New York. Complete details at walgreens.com/balance.
Let's say you just bought a house. Bad news is, you're one step closer to becoming your parents. Soon you'll have a separate fridge in the basement, where extra groceries are exiled forever. Remember that frozen lasagna? Of course you don't. It's been down there since 2008. Good news is, it's easy to bundle home and auto through Progressive and save on your car insurance. Piece of cake. Behind the lasagna. It's very old. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
He's hit 25 of 34 this year for the game. He got it. Steve Christie from 41 yards. Rob Johnson made a couple of big plays to get them down here for Christie to kick.
Wade Phillips looked like a genius.
Yes, he does.
Christie gets all of this one. Right down the middle.
And the underdog Buffalo Bills, led by Rob Johnson, have taken the lead with 16 seconds to go. Wade Phillips, who was under so much fire this week for his decision, which we said, no matter what you think about it, it is a courageous thing to do to make a change at this point in time. It's never been done before by a coach's decision, and the Tennessee Titans are just crushed. 16 seconds left. They still have a prayer, but not much more.
Well, they have 2 timeouts, and the one thing that I would not do is kick this thing, squib kick this thing short.
No, I'd kick it deep. I would make them use as much of the clock and take my chances on a return as opposed to squib kicking it. Let them get it with about 12 seconds to go and a possibility for a play.
Dyson and Bird are deep. Taken by Neal. He gives it to Wycheck. Wycheck, that looked like a forward pass. Taken by Dyson. Dyson down the sideline. Dyson's going to go all the way. There, no flags on the play. It is a touchdown, but we need to look at that replay.
All that's missing is the band.
That's right. That's the only thing missing. But I'm going to tell you something. The reason that Wade Phillips was so under control is that he thinks when they look at this, that this is a forward pass. is not a lateral. Well, the reason that Wade Phillips was so calm is because he thought that was truly a forward pass.
What a devastating way for Buffalo to lose the lead after they had driven for a winning field goal.
Here they come.
Stands, it was a lateral.
Wow.
What an incredible play.
Are you telling the truth here? Think about what you're saying.
Welcome back to the Joel Oriend Show.
You want answers? You can't handle the truth.
On 92.1 The Team.
All right, our next guest, Wade Phillips, is on the line, longtime defensive coordinator and head coach in the NFL. He was the defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills in the mid-90s, took over for Marv Levy when Marv retired there in the late 90s. Some say he's the best defensive mind in the game over the last 25 years. Let's bring him on. We got lots to talk to him about. If you have a question for Wade, you can text us at 363-TEAM. That's 363-TEAM. 363-8326 is the number. If you have a question you'd like to ask former Buffalo Bills head coach Wade Phillips. He won a Super Bowl a few years ago with the Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning was the quarterback. He had Von Miller on the defensive side. That was a great defensive unit for the Denver Broncos when they beat the Carolina Panthers. He was in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago with the Los Angeles Rams. He is an author as well. His book, Son of Bum, I have a copy of that. We're going to give a copy of this book away as well. The book actually came out in 2017, but since we're all stuck in the house with nothing to do, I thought, why not bring Wade on, talk about the book, give a book away, and have something to read while you're stuck inside. Let's bring him on. Wade, thanks so much for joining us.
You bet, Joel. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, I spent 6 years in Buffalo, and that's probably as long as I've lived anywhere, so nice to talk to somebody from that area.
Now, I have the physical copy of the book, the hardcover copy of the book, Son of Bum, in my hands from Diversion Books. They were nice enough to send us a couple copies, and we'll give copies away here as the show goes on. I like having the hard copy in my hand. I know people read books now on their Kindle and their Fire Stick and on their iDevices, but I love having it in my hands. And plus, you see all these people on TV with the Zoom video and everything. They're always sitting in front of a bookshelf with all these real intellectual and academic books. So I need some good books on my bookshelf behind me if I do a Zoom video. Now, your dad coached, Wade, in the college ranks, and at one of his stops before he went to the NFL, he was the defensive coordinator for the Bear, I believe, if my research is correct, before Paul Bear Bryant went to Alabama. So I guess we could consider your dad off of the Paul Bear Bryant coaching tree?
Oh, yeah. He coached in high school and went to Texas A&M when Bryant was at Texas A&M. And so he coached with Bryant there. He actually gave Bryant the what we call the numbering system on defense, which is 2 technique, 3 technique for those football geeks. The techniques, my dad came up with that. So and Coach Bryant carried it on, and that's how it got popular. Yeah, it's in the book too about him at A&M. But yeah, he learned a lot from Coach Bryant. Coach Bryant was, even at that time, even at Texas A&M, he was just the most highly regarded coach probably in college football at the time. So he learned a lot about working with people, he said, more than just the X and O's.
We'll bounce back between you and your dad's coaching careers. Both had great coaching careers and a lot to talk about with both of you. Your dad moves to the NFL, head coach of the Houston Oilers for 6 years and then the Saints for 5 seasons. Only had 1 losing season in Houston, goes to back-to-back AFC championship games, had to travel to Pittsburgh both of those seasons. First year, you guys lost 34-5. That second AFC championship game was much closer, and I want to talk about one of the most controversial or worst calls in NFL history, a lot of the pundits say, and that is the Mike Renfro play in that 79 AFC championship game. It's at the end of the third quarter. Pittsburgh's leading 17-10. It looks like you guys score on a Dan Pastorini to Mike Renfro play. That would have tied the game at 17-all, but it's called incomplete. You guys have to settle for a field goal, making it 17-13, and then Pittsburgh eventually wins 27-13. A lot of people believe if that's called a touchdown and you guys score, the outcome of that game, Wade, could have been very different for your dad.
Well, yeah, I was coaching there too, and Mike Renfro, our wide receiver, caught a touchdown pass in the end zone. They called it incomplete. In those days, we didn't have instant replay, and that's partly why instant replay started, because on TV, everybody saw, and they replayed it, and everybody saw it was in bounds. But the officials, huddled together and said, no, it was incomplete. So, therefore, we didn't score a touchdown against a great Steeler team. Obviously, we won 4 out of 6 Super Bowls, but it could have changed the outcome, certainly.
Well, even though I was born in 1976, I'm aware and I'm familiar with some of those Oiler teams under your dad with Earl Campbell. They were some really good teams. They just ran into the Steel Curtain and the Pittsburgh Steelers in those 2 years going to the AFC Championship game. Now, as you mentioned, you were in Buffalo for 6 years between being a defensive coordinator and a head coach, and that was one of your longer stints. Well, we wanted to go back and look at that and see where the Bills ranked as far as longest tenure in your coaching career. So you've been in the league for 37 years, 12 years as a head coach, 146 games. You went 82-64. Your longest stint as a head coach was with the Dallas Cowboys, 4 years, going 34-22. Then the Bills come in second. Your 3 years here with the Bills, you went 29-19. And then the Denver Broncos, 2 years, you went 16-16. When you combine your years as an assistant coach and a head coach with organizations, this is where it ranks. Denver, number 1, 8 years in total. 6 as the defensive coordinator, 2 as a head coach. So the Bills are tied for second most. 6 years with the Bills, 3 as the DC, 3 as the head coach. Tied with New Orleans for 6 years, 5 as the DC, 1 as the head coach. Then the Dallas Cowboys, 4 years as their head coach. Then all of these teams are tied for 3 years. Houston, Atlanta, the LA Rams, the San Diego Chargers, and the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Bills are actually tied for your second longest tenure in total with organizations. And now that we're 20 years removed, Wade, from your tenure with the Buffalo Bills, I think there's a little bit different perspective now on your time with the Bills. So you come in 95 after a long, successful run with the Denver Broncos, getting to the Super Bowl in 89, losing to the 49ers, and losing in the AFC Championship game in 1991, 10-7 to the Buffalo Bills. You come in as the defensive coordinator. Bills have just come off of 4 straight Super Bowls. They go 7-9 in 1994. And it's an interesting and important time in franchise history, because you've got a lot of Hall of Famers on the team getting older. Future Hall of Famers. Bill Polian was let go in 1993, the GM. You've got Jim Kelly getting older, future Hall of Famer. You've got Thurman Thomas getting older, future Hall of Famer. Andre Reed getting older, future Hall of Famer. Bruce Smith getting older, future Hall of Famer. Marv Levy is getting towards the end of his run as the Buffalo Bills head coach. And it had been a real solid 10-year run for the Buffalo Bills. And the 4 Super Bowl trips. So people had high expectations. So your first year as defensive coordinator in 95, Bills go 10-6. You guys get to the divisional round, lose to Marino and the Dolphins. 96, you guys go 10-6 again, losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars in the wild card game, 30-27. In 1997, Marv Levy's last year, you guys go 6-10. 1998 is your first season as head coach. You guys go 10-6. You guys lose to the Dolphins in the wild card game, 24-17. Kelly's retired. You have Doug Flutie and Rob Johnson as your quarterback. Thurman is still hanging on, so is Andre Reed and Bruce Smith on the defensive side. 1999, you guys go 11-5. You lose in the wild card game 22-16 to the Tennessee Titans with the Music City Miracle. And then your final year in 2000, you guys go 8-8. So you never had a losing season as a head coach of the Buffalo Bills. You made it to the playoffs 2 out of the 3 years. You lose 1 playoff game on a miracle kickoff return. But at that time, the organization's standards and the fan base was so used to success that just didn't seem to satisfy them. It was a interesting time, as we mentioned, Hall of Famers getting older and retiring. You know, I think now that Bills fans look back on it, last 17, 18 years, it's been, boy, that Wade Phillips, he wasn't too bad of a head coach. I wish we had him back or kept him. So, perspective has changed over time. As you know, it's never easy to replace a legend. It was big shoes to fill with Marv Levy. He was beloved in Western New York with Bills Mafia. Looking back, Wade, it was a very interesting and unique time in organizational history for you to take over as the head coach.
Yeah, we when I came in 95, they hadn't played as well on defense, and actually we had a really good year that year. Turned it around pretty well. I remember we beat Miami in the playoffs, and Dan Marino threw it 64 times, so, which is a defensive coach's nightmare, him having to throw it, but we beat him pretty bad. So, but we did have, Jim Kelly, was retiring at the time. While I was there, he retired. So, and even Marv Levy retired. So, the team was getting a little older. And a lot of changes.
So your dad, Bum Phillips, he was a head coach for 11 years in the NFL, 159 games. He went 82-77, had 6 years with the Houston Oilers, going 55-35, then 5 years with the New Orleans Saints, going 27-42. And your dad kind of had a similar run with the Houston Oilers. So he's head coach of the Oilers for 6 years, only has 1 sub-500 record. He made it to the AFC Championship game twice, losing to the eventual Super Bowl champs, the Pittsburgh Steelers. His final 2 years, he goes 11-5 and 11-5. Now, the Oilers fire your dad in 1980, but then don't have a winning record until 1987 when Warren Moon comes on the scene and they implement the run and shoot. So again, the Oilers and that fan base seem to be a little bit impatient with your dad. They get rid of him, and then the team goes absolutely downhill for 7 years.
Yeah, we lost, like I said, we lost to Pittsburgh twice in the AFC Championship. They won the Super Bowl, and then the next year we lost in the playoffs, and that's when we got fired. But we lost in the playoffs to Oakland, who won the Super Bowl. And so, same thing. I mean, everybody was kind of disappointed, and, But like my dad said, there's 2 kinds of coaches. Ones that have been fired and ones that are going to be fired. So
that is true, no doubt about it. So this brings me to our first listener question at 363-TEAM, 363-TEAM. If you have a question for Wade Phillips, former head coach of the Buffalo Bills, you can text this at 363-TEAM. First one, probably inevitable, Wade, is from Rich. The text just says, Wade, the Music City Miracle. How did that happen? What went wrong?
Well, we kicked the field goal, seemingly we were going to win the game, and they ran a throwback play on the kickoff, and I call it a throw forward play because I still say they threw the ball forward, and we had instant replay then, so but they didn't call it back, and they ended up winning the game. So it was a heartbreaking loss for us, and because we had come back in the game and really gone ahead. So, it wasn't like we were behind the whole game or that kind of thing. We made a valiant comeback, and then they ended up losing in the Super Bowl themselves on the last play of the game. Yep. They had a really good team, and we were playing at Tennessee, and I thought we played our hearts out.
On the phone with us, Wade Phillips, former head coach of the Buffalo Bills and an author. His book, Son of Bum, from Diversion Books. You can get that book online. A great read. And Wade, I hate to relitigate the past and bring up bad memories, but quite frankly, not much else really going on. So, and it's been on the Bills' minds for many years because, the organization has struggled so long. They had a hard time getting over this one. So I went back and looked at the final drive where you guys had the ball. You kicked the field goal to go ahead with around 18 seconds left. Then obviously the Music City Miracle. So my question is, going back, was there anything on that final drive you wish you could have done differently? Any play calls to be able to maybe work that clock down right to the last second and kick the ball as the clock expired? Or on the kickoff, I know it was a windy day. Would you have rather tried to kick that through the back of the end zone? If you couldn't kick it out of the back of the end zone, maybe squibbing it on the ground up the middle of the field? You guys decided to pooch kick it very high and short. It was caught at around the 25. So going back, if you could change anything, would you have changed anything on that final offensive drive or how you guys kicked the ball off?
Yeah, well, we didn't think we could kick it to the, you're right, the wind was blowing, and we didn't think we could kick it all the way to the end zone. So we decided to bloop kick it. Now, I thought, it's in the book, I thought we would bloop kick it outside the numbers where you would kind of, but we bloop kicked it right down the middle, which drew everybody in. And, in retrospect, certainly I would like to kick it short outside the numbers and keep the guy in that way. So, but especially where they have to throw it to the other side. But that's the way it went.
Well, I know it's a very sensitive topic for Bills fans and a bad memory, although I think it's kind of eased a little bit since the Bills have made it back into the playoffs, because that was the last playoff appearance for, 15, 16 years or whatever for the Buffalo Bills to have to remember. I want to jump back over to your dad. Bum Phillips coached the Houston Oilers and the New Orleans Saints, and your dad was a very good coach, had really good run games with Earl Campbell, but he just seemed to be unlucky with quarterbacks, Wade. He had Dan Pastorini, who was a good, serviceable quarterback, but not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but probably was his best quarterback as a head coach. He got some really good quarterbacks, but they were at the end of their career. John Hadel, Ken Stabler, Archie Manning. So it makes you kind of wonder if he was able to get a quarterback like that in their prime, how good your dad could have been, or if he could have won a Super Bowl even.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he got that's what I think a really good coach is he gets the best of the players he has, whether you have Hall of Fame players or not. And, he certainly did that.
All right, let's go back to the text line, 363-TEAM, 363-TEAM. If you have a question for Wade Phillips. Shannon wants to know, favorite place to live and coach?
Well, I guess the best overall weather city was San Diego in La Jolla. So, as far as the weather's concerned, but we still love Buffalo. We have the Murphys are still our best friends up there.
Oh.
We continue the relationship with those people. Reggie Witherspoon, still a good friend of mine. That coaches at I think he's at Canisius. I mean, so we still have great friends in Buffalo, and really enjoyed our time there. And they have great fans. I mean, they have Hardy fans now. It's easy to go watch football in Houston or San Diego, somewhere like that. But Buffalo, man, those people come out, all kinds of weather.
Let's go back to the text line at 363-TEAM, 363-TEAM. Chris wants to revisit the 1999 season and that wild card loss at Tennessee, 22-16. He does not want to talk about the last play of the game, though, and the kickoff return. His question is, why did you bench Doug Flutie in favor of Rob Johnson for that game? Do you regret it?
Yeah, and it's in the book. I'd say, tell him get the book, and he can read all about Buffalo and what happened, and the Music City mistake. That's one of the chapters, so he can read all about it.
All right, that's a good plug for the book, Son of Bum, Lessons I Learned About Football and Life from My Father. You can get that book on Amazon or on Diversion Books, a website. Here's a good question from the text line, 363-TEAM, from Adam, because you've worked for some Hall of Fame owners and some characters. You worked for Pat Bowlen in Denver. You've worked for Jerry Jones in Dallas, Ralph Wilson in Buffalo. His question is, best or worst owner you worked for?
Oh, wow. Well, most of them were not. I mean, they gave me a job in the first place and paid me, so I'm indebted to all of them that I had. Pat Bowlen was really a great owner in the Hall of Fame, and of course Ralph Wilson's in the Hall of Fame. So, those two guys I worked for that are in the Hall of Fame, and Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could pick one. Mr. McNair with the Texans was really nice to me. So I had pretty good relationship with all the owners that I coached for, and Mr. Kroenke with the Rams is a really good owner.
Wade, you were the defensive coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams for a time, meaning you got to coach under a pretty smart, young, up-and-coming offensive mind in Sean McVay, and that got me thinking, the game of football, a lot of it is a chess match between coaches, between offensive and defensive coordinators. So with that said, who was an offensive coordinator or just an offensive-minded head coach or even offense in general that was the hardest to game plan for?
Well, Tom Brady isn't the offensive coordinator. He's certainly one of the toughest to play against. Sure. But I think Norv Turner deserves all the credit he's gotten as an offensive coordinator because he's done it so well for such a long time. So I think Norv is really tough. And Gary Kubiak's a really great. I worked for him twice, and he's offensive coordinator with Minnesota now. So I think he's outstanding.
All right, let's wrap up with one more question from the text line, 363-TEAM, 363-TEAM. This is a great one from Beth. She wants to know, with all the different teams you've coached, if you get selected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, if you had to go in as a coach of one team, which team would it be?
Well, I don't know. I would think that I was the longest in Denver. I went twice to the Super Bowl, and we won the Super Bowl there. We had Buffalo. We had a great defense. We were number one in defense in Buffalo when I was there. But that 2015 World Championship defense was maybe one of the best. I mean, it's comparable to the '85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens. Is one of the great defenses. So. If I was ever lucky enough to be in the Hall of Fame, it's probably because of that team, that group.
Wade, I know you got a birthday coming up here shortly. Want to wish you a happy birthday in advance. You're turning 73 years young. I was looking at your picture today, Wade, and you certainly don't look like you're 73 years old. Now, last year, in the last 3 years, you've been the defensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Rams. You are currently not under contract and with any teams right now, correct?
Yeah, I'm ready to come back to Buffalo, man. So, yeah, I'd like to coach this next season. We'll see what happens.
Well, Wade, speaking of defenses and wanting to get back to being a defensive coordinator, being in the league for 37 years, you've seen a lot of different changes and the game offensively evolve. You've had to take on some of the greats, Brady and Manning, they're pocket quarterbacks. But recently, these quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Colin Kaepernick, Lamar Jackson, these read and react quarterbacks that are better in the pistol. As a defensive coordinator, did pocket quarterbacks like Brady and Manning give you more nightmares, or did quarterbacks that can keep the ball and run this option type football nowadays, did they give you more fits as a defensive coordinator?
Well, it's hard to argue with Brady and Peyton Manning and their success and how great they were. That it's about scoring points, and they certainly could do that. I mean, they're the best at doing that. So, yeah, I've been in it 42 years in the NFL, so I've seen a lot of them. And now the newer breed with the quarterbacks running with the ball, more like college quarterbacks. They give you problems. They give you an extra guy running with the ball. Cam Newton was the MVP. So, I mean, he ran with the football, and like I say, that Denver group, we ended up beating him, but he was MVP because of not only him throwing the ball, but him being able to run with the football. So we're seeing more and more of that now. Lamar Jackson, those types, Kyler Murray. So I think it's, the new trend, and it's going to go that way as long as they can be successful doing it.
All right, let's give a copy away of the book right now, shall we? 363-TEAM, 363-TEAM. First person through will get a hardback copy of Son of Bum, Lessons I've Learned from My Father About Football and Life. Wade, thanks so much for coming on. I have not made it through the entire book yet, but what I have read, it's a great read. You do a great job of illustrating what a character your dad was, how great of a coach was, and an even better father. And man, I'm sure he's extremely proud of you, not only as a coach, getting the multiple Super Bowls that evaded him, but you won a Super Bowl championship with the Denver Broncos. I'm sure he's proud of you, not only as a coach, but as a man. And, I think you set out to write a book, not only about football, but father-son relationship. And I think you did a great job, and it's a wonderful tribute to your father.
Yeah, that's right. And that's what I wanted to. That's why I wrote the book, to honor him and to let people know about it. You're not going to see a coach on the sideline with a cowboy hat and boots in ever again. So I wanted to make sure people knew about him.
All right, thanks, Wade. Be safe, be healthy, and thanks so much for coming on.
You bet, Joel. I enjoyed it, and everybody stay safe.
All righty, there you go. Wade Phillips. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more after this.
The award-winning service and collision departments at Maple City Dodge are open. They're ready to pick up service and return your vehicle to you when the work is done. The sales department's also available. Gary, Larry, and Aaron are working from home and making great deals with 2 different incentive offers. 1, 0% financing for 84 months with 90 days no payment on select 2019 and 2020 vehicles, including Ram trucks. 2, employee pricing for everyone on select Jeep makes and models. Call Maple City Dodge in Hornell, proud to be serving you.
With some recent revisions, our certificate sale is still going on. Save up to 50% off your favorite restaurant or local business. Pay online and we'll ship the certificates to you at no extra charge. Go to www.921theteam.com and click on certificate sale. Buy the certificate you want and request that they be shipped. Let us help you save money. And thanks for listening to 92.1 The Team.
Welcome back to the Joel Oriend Show.
You play to win the game. We can't be responsible for the blocking. We can't be responsible for the guys jumping offside.
I'm getting all the heat with everybody, each and every one of y'all hammering my tail.
I want winners. I want people that want to win.
And dadgummit, at the end, I don't want to hear any of you guys ever talk about our fourth quarter play again.
There's 3 quarterbacks on this football team. Whichever one starts. Whichever ones don't, we'll back them up.
See that? That's your IQ, buddy. 0.
Bears are who we thought they were. That's why we took the field. Now, if you want to crown them, then crown them. But they are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. I just hope we can win a game.
We just got totally kicked. We couldn't do diddly-poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. You don't know what we're trying to do. You guys don't look at the films. You don't know what happened. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know. And you never will.
You play to win the game.
On 92.1 The Team.
Well, the draft, as you know, is underway, and virtual draft is Roger Goodell hanging out in his man cave, the basement. His man cave looks a little bit better than mine. I'll give him credit for that. I thought it went well for the most part. What I saw, Tanner. It is what it is. It's the top draft picks have cameras at their house that were sent to them, and you get the reaction, and the commissioner is in his basement doing the picks. I thought it went okay. I mean, I don't think it was as bad as some people thought it was going to be. I mean, honestly, outside of, the guy coming up on stage and, giving an awkward hug to Roger Goodell and the fans booing Roger every pick and in person, they were still able to interview the big draft pick. So I thought it went fine so far.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. I did not watch it. I just listened to the audio, but seemed like it was pretty cool, a new perspective. Normally, you'd have the big stage, be out in some big city, but it was kind of cool to see everyone in their natural habitats and then be in envy of how nice some of these people's man caves are compared to your own. But all in all, I thought it was pretty unique and an interesting experience. Hopefully, we don't have to do something like this ever again, with the health concerns going around. But all things considered, it went off without a hitch, and there weren't any major technical issues. So, yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting.
Just a couple quick takeaways before we get to any of the picks. Roger Goodell's introduction was a little corny. He's like your principal or your dad, right? Like the dad jokes, like nobody is ever going to like anything that Roger Goodell said. People just, perception is reality, and people hate Roger Goodell. So yeah, he's a little corny and a little silly. So here was Roger talking about not having the fans in person to boo him.
I will miss the interaction I have with our fans over these 3 days. It's a draft tradition and one that I genuinely enjoy. Let's hear from you right now. Oh, come on, guys. You can do better than that.
So
let's
he has
go.
People like on Zoom on a big screen behind him.
Come on, let's go. Come on, you guys can do better than that. All right, keep it coming. Wow, even the virtual boos are good. Yes, I can hear you from my basement, so keep it coming.
So he's trying to have fun that he gets booed all the time, because that's the best way to do it. Because if he acts like like it upsets him, the fans are going to just do it even more. So I think, that's a good move by his part, embracing it, pretending like he likes it. It's reverse psychology. He's hoping that then fans won't boo him all the time and won't hate him so much. So, I thought, he was trying to have fun with it. He did make a costume change in the middle of the show. He did make a wardrobe change. I don't know if he thought he was at the Oscars or what. I don't know why he had to change his clothes, but I guess he just decided to do that. And then the other thing was, did you see the video that went viral, Tanner, with Isaiah?
Oh, Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah, Isaiah Wilson. So they pan to him like they do after your name is picked, right? They go to you on the cam, and apparently his girlfriend was trying to hug him. I would be very excited too if I was his girlfriend, getting with your boyfriend going in the first round of the NFL draft. He's about to make a lot of dough. And, Mama Wilson, not very happy. So the video went viral. Let me see if I can play the video for you. Mama Wilson, not happy that Isaiah is getting hugged while he's on national television after just getting picked by the Tennessee Titans. So the girlfriend's hugging him. And Mom literally grabs the girlfriend's arm and pulls her out of the screen. That was pretty good. You couldn't really hear. There was audio in the background, but you couldn't really hear it. I suppose if you cranked it up real loud, you could probably hear what was being said in the background. But obviously, Mama wanted Isaiah to be alone in the video. So I thought that was pretty funny.
She's just making sure that everyone's abiding by social distancing rules. That's all that was.
Oh, I thought that maybe Isaiah was like, Mom, now if I get picked, make sure my girlfriend's not in the picture, because I don't want people to think I have a girlfriend, because my options might be a little more open now that I'm an NFL player. But maybe you're right. Maybe it is the social distancing thing. I don't think there was any major surprises. Anything that jump out at you, Tanner, in the first round that anybody did or didn't do?
Yeah, I thought there would be a lot more trades. Like the Detroit Lions, I'm surprised they didn't trade down at least to 5. I think they could have moved down to 5 and still gotten Jeffrey Okudah. I was a little surprised at the Cardinals pick. taking Isaiah Simmons. I thought they would go tackle because they've invested, back-to-back first-round picks on quarterbacks, and you have to protect them. But I do like the pick of Isaiah Simmons nonetheless. He is a pretty fun player. I mean, this guy, he's going to be fun to watch. He's a chess piece. Look at his snaps last year by alignment. He played 299 at inside linebacker, 262 at slot corner, 132 at free safety, 116 at outside linebacker, 100 at the strong safety. So he's going to be a very fun player to watch. And the Cardinals, they're slowly becoming must-see TV, let me tell you, with Kyler Murray, who's, a new breed of quarterbacks, the running type guy, improviser, makes plays with his legs. He goes out, gets an elite playmaker in DeAndre Hopkins, and they add a guy like Isaiah Simmons on defense. That team is really coming together. There was a couple reaches I thought in the first round, like A.J. Terrell, the cornerback going to the Falcons, and Damon Arnett at 19 to the Oakland Raiders. A couple steals as well. CeeDee Lamb to the Cowboys, an absolute steal. I thought he was going to be the first wide receiver off the board. Ended up being the third wide receiver off the board going to the Dallas Cowboys. Patrick Queen going to the Baltimore Ravens, linebacker at pick 28. Again, I thought he could have been the first linebacker off the board, but ends up falling to Baltimore. But overall, nothing too crazy. I just thought there would be a lot more trades. There was rumors about the Falcons wanting to trade up, the Dolphins, but things stuck true to form. And, of course, there's always going to be a couple of guys that are taken maybe a little bit too high or fall. But overall, I didn't think there was any major surprise.
So it's a quandary for an NFL team, because if you go too high for a replacement of one of your players who's in their prime, they don't like that. So when you go back and look at the people the Bills went for and the quarterbacks they picked, was there any good gems left on the board that they could have picked other than the ones they went for?
From 1994 to 2004, they only drafted 2 quarterbacks, which sounds hard to believe, but only 2. In 1995, they drafted Todd Collins in the second round, 45th overall pick, and wasn't the greatest pick in the world because Cordell Stewart, former Steelers quarterback, was taken 15 picks later. Now, he wasn't the best quarterback in the world, but he was certainly better than Todd Collins. That I do know. And then in 2004, they selected J.P. Lossman, 22nd overall, only played 5 years in Buffalo, was a bust. And unfortunately for them, better quarterbacks were already off the board at that point with Eli Manning, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers. So they didn't really have much of a choice there and weren't really any better options. So Buffalo just got kind of unlucky in that draft. But they only swung at 2 quarterbacks there between that 10-year period before the end of the Marv era, and then the beginning of the 2000s in the doldrums for Buffalo. So they didn't really go after too many quarterbacks, but the ones they did, they certainly missed.
Was there any other draft picks outside of quarterbacks?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a lot of draft picks that the Bills have missed out on over the years. Looking at 1996, they took Eric Moulds in the first round, 24th overall. Ray Lewis was taken 2 picks later. In the second round, they took a defensive end, Gabe Northern, 53 overall. He ended up playing 4 years in the league. Brian Dawkins was taken 8 picks later, which is interesting because in the third round, they took a safety. Obviously, Brian Dawkins, a safety. They took safety Matt Stevens, third round, 87th overall pick. He played from 96 to 2003. And Terrell Owens was taken 2 picks later. So they missed on all those there. And then let's see here. In 2000, they did not have a particularly good draft. They took defensive end Eric Flowers, 26th overall in the first round. He was off the team after 2 years. In the second round, they took free safety Travaris Tillman, 58th overall. He was off the team after 2 seasons. In the third round, they took linebacker Corey Moore, 89th overall. He was off the team after his rookie season. Looking at 2002, this was another not so good draft. They took offensive tackle Mike Williams, 4th overall. He played both tackle spots, didn't work out. Then he lost the starting left tackle job the next season to undrafted free agent Jason Peters. Tried to transition over to guard unsuccessful, and he was taken 3 picks ahead of Pro Bowl offensive lineman Bryant McKinney, who played from 2002 to 2013, including every game for the Minnesota Vikings from 2003 to 2007. So that really wasn't a good pick for them. You look at 2003 in the second round. In the first round, they took Willis McGahee. He was solid in Buffalo for the 3 years that he was there. In the second round, they took defensive end Chris Kelsey, 58th overall. He spent his entire career in Buffalo, 2004 to 2012. I remember watching him when I started watching football. He was still on the team, but he was taken 8 picks ahead of Pro Bowl defensive end O.C. Umenyiora.
Oh, wow.
And, so a couple of missed picks there for Buffalo. In the draft, it's kind of a crapshoot, to be honest with you. Teams miss picks all the time, but to miss that many picks in a relatively short amount of time is part of the reason why the 2000s were a forgettable time for the Bills.
The biggest pick in the first round that jumped out at me was the Green Bay Packers at number 26, picking quarterback Jordan Love out of Utah State. If, again, you're Aaron Rodgers, there's already rumors that Aaron is not happy that he did not get a wide receiver or someone on the offensive line, that they went and essentially what the organization is hoping is his replacement.
I think it makes sense by the Green Bay Packers as much as Aaron Rodgers probably disagrees. I mean, Rodgers is 36 years old currently. By the end of next season, he'll be 37. So this is definitely for the long game. Jordan Love is only 21 years old. He's kind of a project, not really ready to start just yet. So this is the perfect situation for him. Although I am interested to see if Aaron Rodgers will be as cold to Jordan Love as Brett Favre was to Aaron Rodgers.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. I want to talk about the AFC East and the New England Patriots. If you're a Bills fan, you've got to love this. After being in the doldrums for so long, and, New England just laughing at the Buffalo Bills, this soap opera and what's going on with the Patriots certainly should make Buffalo Bills fans extremely happy and just rubbernecking, right? I mean, when you drive by a crash and you can't stop looking, right now if you're a Bills fan, you should be absolutely loving this. We'll talk about that and more coming up on 92.1 The Team.
Hungry for something different? Go to this website, GetLocalTakeout.com, for a list of restaurants still offering takeout in our area. GetLocalTakeout.com is brought to you in support of local restaurants by the Ryan Agencies and MysticMedia.com.
For now, I'm the only one allowed to visit the artist-in-residence at Walker Metalsmiths. Let's see what he's up to. What you doing?
Making a diamond engagement ring.
So I see it as a cathedral sort of design with...
Hush, not on the radio. It might be a surprise. You never know who's listening.
Right. You have made a lot of wedding and engagement rings. Which was your favorite?
Remember that couple from the festival in Fairport?
That could be a lot of people.
3 years in a row, they came in during Canal Days Festival and shopped for a ring, but insisted they were not getting engaged or married.
They dithered for 3 years before you showed them that awesome purple sapphire.
Both of their faces lit right up, and I knew it was going to be theirs.
I remember when they came in to pick it up. He made her wait outside, he brought it out to her, and proposed right on the steps of Walker Metalsmiths.
It was great. The ring is nice, too.
I think Steve likes telling stories just as much as he loves making jewelry.
I miss seeing our customers, but you can still connect on Facebook, Instagram, and through our website, WalkersCelticJewelry.com.
Our veterans risked it all to protect our freedoms. And now, as we all fight the coronavirus, vulnerable veterans have little or no contact with their family or hospital volunteers and staff. Learn how you can help an isolated or sick veteran at healvets.org. Help Heal Veterans, with the support of citizens like you, creates, manufactures, and distributes therapeutic art and crafts projects for our veterans and military at no charge to them. Healvets.org. This message is furnished by Help Heal Veterans.
92.1 The Team. WCKR Cornell.
NFL Films presents Obsess Much, Buddy? It was a beautiful early spring morning, and your family was anticipating quality time with the man of the house. Maybe a picnic in the park, a trip to the zoo, or a game of catch in the backyard. But you had other plans. for you awoke early that Saturday, plopped yourself in front of the tube, and watched hour after hour of the NFL Draft. At last, on Sunday, your son begged you to teach him how to throw a curveball, but you replied, "Move your head. I can't see who the Ravens chose as the 240th pick in the 7th round." Truly, this fixation with football prompts the question, obsess much, buddy?
Yeah, it's kind of nice to stick it in Bill's face every once in a while.
It's the Joel Oriend Show.
I want to apologize. What I said was stupid. What I was saying was stupid. So hopefully I'll learn something and to be a little less stupid.
On 92.1 The Team.
That voice you just heard right there was Wes Welker in that bumper coming back when Wes was still part of the New England Patriots. He was the first one to leave, and when this dynasty started to come undone for the New England Patriots, what he was referring to there was, if you remember when Rex Ryan was the head coach of the New York Jets and that video came out about him and his wife and how he has a foot fetish, well, the week that the Patriots were going to play the Jets, Wes at his press conference made a lot of foot jokes and innuendos and puns about feet. And as you can imagine, Bill Belichick was not a fan of that and did not like that. And I think that was the beginning of the end between Wes and Bill Belichick. And what he's saying right there is a reporter asked him, why did you do that? You know that Bill Belichick's not going to like you doing that. And his response was, it's nice to stick it in Bill's face sometime. Now, he did have one good season after leaving New England, Wes Welker with Peyton Manning in Denver, but ultimately the Patriots were shown to be right, that they got out in time with Wes Welker, as they have with a lot of their guys, Vince Wilfork and other guys. They're good at cutting ties, getting out before it's too late, getting when the getting is good. Well, we'll see about Tom Brady now, right? They didn't sign Tom Brady. Now, another shoe has dropped. Rob Gronkowski, who was under contract with the New England Patriots, but had made it clear he did not want to play for the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick anymore, especially when he had heard rumors 2 years ago that he was going to get traded to the Detroit Lions. Now, obviously, Rob and Bill Belichick aren't the best friends. Rob likes to do motocross, and he's a free spirit. He likes to do wrestling and, take pictures of himself out at the bar dancing, and that's just not the Patriot way. So it wasn't shocking when they kind of went their separate way. Well, the Patriots felt, well, if he's not going to play for us and he wants to get traded, well, let's at least get something for him. So they have traded Rob Gronkowski to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tanner, I want to get your thoughts because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are turning into the New England Patriots South.
Yeah, I think the Buccaneers front office, they saw that Tom Brady was having a rough go of it in his first couple days in Tampa, so they had to get him a friend down there to kind of lighten his spirits, and they did that with Rob Gronkowski, and that now makes this Tampa Bay Buccaneer offense loaded in terms of pass catchers. You have Chris Godwin, the young wide receiver, went over 1,300 yards this year. Mike Evans continued to show, that he's one of the best receivers in the league, went over 1,100 yards. And now they add Rob Gronkowski, who, to be fair, he did not look like the Pro Bowl tight end of old in his final season that he played with the Patriots. He didn't look like the guy that was out there going for 1,200 yards and double-digit touchdowns. But maybe since he's had a year off, had time to rest and rehab, maybe he'll come back and look like the Rob Gronkowski of old, and that just makes this Buccaneer offense scary. And they already had, talented tight ends. O.J. Howard is a guy that I think is extremely talented, but he's been underutilized his entire career in Tampa. Cameron Brate is another quality pass-catching tight end, but they went out and did it anyways. That certainly is going to make Tom Brady happy. They get the relationship started off on the right foot by trading for a guy that Tom likes and is familiar with. We saw they added reinforcements in the draft last night on the offensive line, bringing in Tristan Wirfs. So obviously, with a 42-year-old quarterback, you got to do everything in your power to try and make him happy and, give him as much weapons and protection as possible to make things easy. So, I like it by Tampa Bay. I think it's a good trade. It's for the now. They're going all in, and they're trying to go for that Super Bowl.
So you wonder what the greatest coach of all time, some at least say he is. His thoughts on Tom Brady leaving and going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and how he is feeling. Let me play you a clip of Bill Belichick here.
So let's make a couple comments on this situation. First of all, I have a tremendous amount of respect. I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us. And getting a good player, and they're getting a good person, and they're getting a great teammate, and they're getting a good quarterback, and getting a good coach. His career is moving forward. He's a talented individual and was a great person to coach. I met with him weekly, and again, have a tremendous amount of respect for him. But as his career moves forward, we have to look to our team, both this year and beyond. And we probably had, in my opinion, the best quarterback situation in the league for the last, call it 2.5 years. It's definitely not something that we wanted to walk away from. We, over a period of time, explored every option possible. But at this point, felt like we had to make a decision.
So that was pretty nice, right, Tanner? That was, for a guy who doesn't dole out compliments too much, that's not a bad answer. But let me play you this.
So let's make a couple comments on this situation. First of all, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Jimmy. I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us. And the 49ers are getting a good player, and they're getting a good person, and they're getting a great teammate, and they're getting a good quarterback, and Jimmy's getting a good coach. His career is moving forward. He's a talented individual and was a great person to coach. I met with him weekly, and again, have a tremendous amount of respect for him. But as his career moves forward, we have to look to our team, both this year and beyond. And we probably had, in my opinion, the best quarterback situation in the league for the last, call it 2.5 years. It's just not sustainable, given the way that things are set up. It's definitely not something that we wanted to walk away from, and I felt like we rode it out as long as we could. We, over a period of time, explored every option possible to try to sustain it. But at this point, felt like we had to make a decision.
That is what he said when they traded Jimmy G to the 49ers. Now, this is what he said in a pre-draft conference call about Tom Brady.
This being our first time talking to you since the end of the season, and in particular since Tom left, I know you wanted to leave it with a statement, but I'm just curious if you guys had a desire to bring Tom back the coming season.
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge. Like I said, we're really focused on this season and trying to look at our opportunities and make decisions and plan and prepare to be as competitive as we can be this year. So that's really what our focus is on.
How unbelievable is that? His final words on Tom Brady, we're on to Cincinnati, it's water under the bridge. Now, I'm not an English or literature expert, but when someone refers to it water under the bridge, it doesn't normally, Tanner, refer to something good. Can you believe that after all those years and everything him and Tom have been through, comparing those two clips, that's what he had to say about Tom Brady?
Yeah, I am a little surprised, but maybe he was just in a good mood when he was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo. But, if you would have played that water under the bridge quote as a standalone quote, I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, would you really expect anything different from Mr. We're on to Cincinnati? I mean, he's he has not been brash in the past about trading Pro Bowlers. He did it and letting people like that walk. They traded away Chandler Jones, Jamie Collins. So had you played that on its own, that wouldn't have moved the needle at all for me. I would have figured that's just who Bill Belichick is. And as long as he is the head coach of the New England Patriots, he is just going to be always looking forward, and he's going to be about handling business. Now, I'm sure the time will come when, he gives his retirement speech or, gets inducted into the Hall of Fame inevitably, where he'll give his sappy speech and thank Tom Brady for all he did for him and the Patriots organization. But like I said, as long as Bill Belichick is the head coach of the New England Patriots, he is worried about just the New England Patriots. But when you throw in that clip of him talking about Jimmy Garoppolo, I do find that pretty interesting that, he went kind of out of his way and did something uncharacteristic of Bill Belichick to praise, a young quarterback that didn't play a lot for them. But then when the greatest quarterback of all time walks out the door, it's like, oh, yeah, whatever. That guy, he left. It's water under the bridge now. We're on to Sid the Kid, So that is kind of odd, but Bill Belichick works in mysterious ways. I don't think we'll ever know what goes on in that man's head.
Bill, let me ask you, Bill, 9 Super Bowl appearances with Tom Brady, 6 championships. What are your thoughts on all those Super Bowls?
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. What about all his MVPs that he's won, Tom Brady? And I believe he's going to be a Hall of Famer. So, and a lot of people call him the greatest quarterback of all time. What is your thoughts and experiences with Tom Brady and being able to coach him, the greatest quarterback of all time?
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Now, what about Jimmy G, though? I know there's rumors that you and him, Jimmy, text after every game. What are your thoughts on Jimmy Garoppolo?
I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us.
I mean, if you're Tom Brady, if that's not motivation, I don't know what motivation is.
Can you clip that and send that to Tom Brady? Not like he needs any more motivation, but can you clip that and send that to him?
I mean, clearly Bill Belichick likes Jimmy Garoppolo more than Tom Brady. I don't think he can make it any more clear than that. And if Tom needed any motivation, that would be it. I mean, I think now they both want to prove that they didn't need the other one. So let me ask you, who's going to be more successful in their solo career? Tom Brady or Bill Belichick?
Well, at least in the short run, I think Tom Brady, because, that Buccaneers team around him with all those weapons that he has is a very good team, with Godwin, Evans, and now you add Rob Gronkowski. So at least in the short run, I think Brady, because I think Tom Brady can still throw a football. I mean, you look at the divisional game where they lost to, the wild card game where they lost to the Tennessee Titans. Tom Brady was still putting passes on the money. So I think Brady can still throw the ball, and he has a great supporting cast around him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Brady do a lot of winning in these next 2 years. But, it depends how long Bill Belichick goes for. I think longevity, Bill Belichick's going to have him, and the Patriots are projected to have around $100 million in cap space next offseason. They have a lot of day 2 picks in this draft. They're going to have some picks in the next draft as well. So I don't know. I think in the short run, we might see some success from Tom Brady, but overall, if Bill Belichick's able to stick around for, maybe 5 to 10 more years, which might be a big ask, but if he can stick around and, build this team the way he wants it again, and, they can get a quarterback, I could see the Patriots rising back to the top of the AFC East.
Let me play you a clip of Brady from Howard Stern's interview. Mind you, this is pre-water under the bridge.
I probably knew before the start of last season that it was my last year. Our time was coming to an end. I never cared about legacy. I never once when I was in high school said, man, I can't wait for what my football legacy looks like. I mean, it's just not me. That's not my personality. So why would I choose a different place? It's because it was just time. I don't know what to say other than that. Like, I had done everything. I accomplished everything I could in 2 decades with an incredible organization, incredible group of people, and that will never change. And no one can ever take that away from me. No one can ever take those experience or Super Bowl championships away from us. I can't do his job and he can't do mine. The fact that you could say, would I be successful without him, the same level of success? I don't believe I would have been. But I feel the same in vice versa as well. To have him allowed me to be the best I could be. So I'm grateful for that. And I very much believe that he feels the same about me because we've expressed that to each other. This is a part for me in my life to experience something very different. And, you know, there's ways for me to grow and evolve in a different way that I haven't had the opportunity to do.
Bill, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
I mean, your thoughts, Tanner, on what Brady said. Now, he wasn't necessarily glowing directly to Bill Belichick, but he certainly was more complimentary than Bill was.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think, Brady handled it with class. You know, he didn't really take any, pot shot type of say anything like that like Bill Belichick did, because what Belichick said, compared to what he said about Jimmy Garoppolo, you could interpret that as a slap in the face to Tom Brady. But no, I don't have any problem with Tom Brady's answer. He gave his 2 cents and he handled it with class. He didn't really say anything that could be interpreted as a shot at Belichick, just gave his honest 2 cents. So I like Tom Brady's answer there. Same can't be said for Belichick, though.
Bill, when I bring up one of the members of the New England Patriots, someone who was very dedicated to the team, he was a staff member of the New England Patriots in the front office, and he dressed up on orders by somebody, I'm not saying you, but by orders by somebody, to dress up like an NFL Films crew member, go into the press box at MetLife Stadium and record the New York Jets sideline and their play calls. Now, when I bring that up to you, and, you guys were stripped of draft picks and you were fined, even though you said you knew nothing about it, and you guys fired this employee who apparently just went rogue and decided he was going to pretend he was from NFL Films and videotape the Jets sideline all on his own. When I bring up that former employee, what are your thoughts?
I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us.
I mean, Bill, I've never got to interview you before. I'm just curious. So in the 20 years that Tom Brady was your starting quarterback, starting in 2001, you guys never had a losing season. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Oh, well, okay. So in those 20 years, you guys went to 13 AFC championship games, winning 9 of them. That's pretty good, right? You'll remember that.
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Oh, okay. Okay. I mean, but didn't you guys go to like 8 AFC championships in a row? I mean, that's phenomenal, right? I mean, that's going to be something you'll remember forever.
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
No. Okay. And in those 20 years, didn't you guys win 17 AFC East championships? I mean, that's impressive. That may never be duplicated, Bill. I mean, you're a historian of the game. I mean, that's incredible, right?
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Now, let me ask you about Jimmy G, because I've read stories that you have actually given Jimmy G credit for helping the Patriots beat the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Not that he played a single down in that game, but you have said that Jimmy G did an incredible job playing Russell Wilson on the scout team in practice, getting ready for the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm actually looking at a article about this, and Jimmy G in this article, quote, says, yeah, my legs were really sore from doing a lot of running being Russell Wilson. Talk to me about all the sacrifice and everything Jimmy G did to help you guys get ready for the Seattle Seahawks and help you win that Super Bowl.
I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us.
Now, let me give you these numbers, Bill, and don't jump to conclusions and don't just give me a knee-jerk reaction answer. Let these numbers sink in and give me a thoughtful answer. So, Tom Brady, in the last 20 years in the regular season for you, 219-64 his record as a starter. That is the most wins by any quarterback in the history of the NFL in the regular season. He has 30 playoff wins. That's the most in NFL playoff history. When I tell you those stats, Bill, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's only like a winning percentage of 77.4% in the regular season. Now, Jimmy G in his 3 years made 2 starts for you, went 2-0. When I tell you that stat, what do you think?
I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us.
What about this number, though, then, Bill? Maybe this will impress you. 541 touchdowns in his career by Tom Brady in a Patriots uniform. That's second all-time to only Drew Brees. Your thoughts, Bill Belichick? Oh, man, you are a tough cookie. How about this? Jimmy Garoppolo in his 3 years in New England, 5 touchdown passes. Your thoughts on that stat? I
couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us.
Okay, how about this? Tom Brady in a Patriots uniform, 74,571 yards passing. That is second most all-time in the history of the NFL to only Drew Brees. Let me get your thoughts, Bill.
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Now, on the flip side, let's talk about Super Jimmy G. He threw for 690 yards. When I throw that stat out to you, Bill, what do you think?
I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us.
Well, I guess my last question would be fairly obvious. The whole Deflategate, Bill. I mean, what about these trainers and equipment guys that were, deflating, taking air out of the football because Tom Brady liked a football with a little less air in it? What would you say about those staff members that you guys fired that, probably made 1/10 of what you make in a given year?
I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us.
Okay, well, listen, you have the right to your own opinion. It does seem weird, the people you dole out compliments to, and then others you are very mum on any comments or compliments at all. I feel like if President Trump were to give you a nickname, Coach Belichick, he'd call you backwards Bill, I think. But that's just my opinion. Tanner, before we take a break here, why don't we revisit and re-ask your trivia question for today?
Before I ask my trivia question, Joel, this is a pretty big accomplishment for you. What are your thoughts on being able to interview Bill Belichick today?
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Oh, well, that's a shame because he's a great coach, probably the greatest all time. It's a shame you've put that in the past so quickly. I think that's a great accomplishment. Anyway, on to my trivia question. Since the 1970 NFL-AFL merger, only one franchise has not drafted a future Hall of Famer in the first round. It's either the New York Jets, Cleveland Browns, Philadelphia Eagles, or Green Bay Packers.
I feel like the Browns are the trap answer because they've been so bad for so long and they've missed on a lot of number 1 draft picks. That's a good question. Let's take a break. We'll think about that coming up. We have got a former NFL kicker. It is Steve Christie. He kicked for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Giants. He was part of the Buffalo Bills when they made it to the Super Bowl in 1993. And he was a part of that greatest comeback of all time in the wild card game against the Houston Oilers, a game replayed here on 92.1 The Team just recently. So I want to talk to him about that game and much more. It's 92.1 The Team. We'll be back after this.
Mullen Factory Direct Floor Covering has been serving this area for many years. During life's ups and downs, we've never quite experienced anything like this. There's no official day or time set for us all to go back to business as usual, but Mullins wants you to know they're there for you and your flooring projects. And it's also a good time to say thanks to all the loyal customers and remind you to support all area local small businesses to help them stay afloat during this unprecedented time. Be safe and stay healthy from your friends at Mullen Factory Direct Floor Covering in Almond.
Liberty Mutual Insurance Company presents and Doug.
Check it out, Limu. Got a brand new motorcycle jacket and matching leather pants. Now let's go for a ride and tell everyone that Liberty Mutual customizes their motorcycle insurance. So you only pay for what you need. Oh my gosh, this leather does not breathe well. You can't suffocate in leather, can you? Liberty, 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 liberty. Get a customized quote at libertymutual.com.
a heart in my tasty Honey Nut Cheerios? Cereal, you trying to tell me you love me?
Actually, it's reminding you that it can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet.
Wait! They can help lower cholesterol? I've been so focused on the sweet, tasty taste that I completely forgot. Now I'm in love.
Learn more about making Honey Nut Cheerios part of your heart-healthy lifestyle by picking up a box at your local grocery store.
Bills can win it here. Wright puts it down. The kick is on the way, and it is good. And the Bills have won it. The Bills have won it. The Bills have scored. It is bedlam. It is pandemonium. It is pandemonium. It is fantastic.
Welcome back to the Joel Oriend Show.
Defeating the naysayers. You're either winning or you're losing. There's nothing in between. You know, good luck. You're going to need it. I'm going to be over here, like, winning. Winning.
On 92.1 The Team.
Well, you just heard the call right there by Van Miller, longtime voice of the Buffalo Bills, as the Bills beat the Houston Oilers in that 1993 wild card game at Ralph Wilson Stadium, coming from behind 35-3 to win 41-38 in overtime. And the man who kicked that field goal that Van Miller just called, Steve Christie, is on the line with us. Steve, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Anytime.
Now, we're in the middle of the NFL draft, and kickers don't normally get drafted. I know you went to William and Mary and didn't get drafted, but the Bucs picked you up, correct?
Yes, I was signed as a free agent with Tampa, and back then there were 12 rounds, and I worked out for a number of teams before the draft, and back then, like I said, there was 12 rounds, and Mel Kiper, the draft expert at the time, I guess he still is now, but he told my agent that I'd go from the 3rd to the 7th round, and my phone didn't even ring till the 10th round, and it was Tampa, and they never even talked to me. They just saw me, I guess, at the Senior Bowl, and said, look, we'd like to bring you in as a kickoff guy, and I said, okay, fine, that's better than nothing. Well, that's what I got. It was nothing. Nobody drafted me, and I became a Buccaneer after that weekend, but I was only there for 2 years, and as we're bridging into this greatest comeback game, that was my first playoff game, coming off of a 3-13 season with the Buccaneers. So you can imagine how excited I was to get into a playoff game. But then at halftime, sitting in my locker going, I gave up palm trees for this? Like, what am I doing? But then again, of course, that Bills team was not exactly the same as what we had in Tampa at the time. Exactly. There was a lot of heart there, a lot of talent. The nucleus was really strong, obviously, with Marv Levy and Bill Polian there at the helm. There was just, I mean, even though that particular game didn't start out well, there was I could say the strength in the locker room to overcome. And really, to be honest, I think at halftime we were looking at it as saying, hey, look, we're at home. This is embarrassing. We didn't sell out, so the game was blacked out locally. Mm-hmm. But we felt that we owed something to the fans to at least get back into the game. And that's what we said.
Sure.
And then, of course, everyone remembers we went back out and Frank threw a pick for 6, and we all kind of looked at each other and said, no, that's not what we were talking about. We meant the other way down the field, and sure enough, things started happening, and, obviously Frank got in his groove, and then again, you're looking at the targets that he had, and, with Beebe and Andre Reed, of course, and I mean, just some great plays to get even back into the game.
You played a key role in the greatest comeback of all time. Not only did you have the field goal in overtime to lock the game up, but in the third quarter, when you guys fell down 35-3, Reich leads you guys down the score touchdown, 35-10. Then you boot an onside kick and you recover it yourself. Bills go down and score again to make it 35-17. That was a big play in that game, Steve. You recovering your own onside kick.
I've had 2 of those. I tried 3 and it was successful with 2. The other one was against Seattle, and the guy lined up 15 yards away instead of 11 or 12. And long story short, he took the bus home after that game. But going back to the Houston game, that was one of those deals where, we practiced this. Bruce DeHaven, our special teams coach, we practiced a barrage of onside kicks. Some intentional, some where the other team knows it's coming, and other the call is that particular one is middle onside, and it's a surprise onside kick. So, or surprise onside kick middle, however you want to talk about it. I'm coaching football now and down here volunteering at the local high school, and I get down here and everyone's changed the names, but I still know what the call is. And it's simple. The kicker hits the ball in the middle of the field, about 11 yards. And the key to it all is the two guys next to me. And in my case, I was very fortunate to have Mark Maddox and Mark Pike next to me. And those two spearheaded that gap. And next thing you know, I was down there on the ground with everybody, but the ball was sitting right there.
Right.
And, that's because of those two guys that went in there and literally spearheaded the area for me to get in there and get it.
Sure.
And then when I was on the ball, Tasker runs over and grabs me. He goes, "Are you kidding me? They're going to kill you. Get out of there." I was just glad I had the ball, Right. So as I'm running off the field, I gave it over to the equipment manager. I said, "Here, hide this one for me." I didn't know at the time if it meant anything or not,
right.
But it certainly helped things because that's considered a turnover on it when you recover on a kickoff.
Right.
So, but again, I mean, that just gave Frank one more opportunity to hit, Andre or Don or someone, in one of the wideouts to keep her going, and that was really the gist of it.
Well, you come to the Bills at an interesting point in their history. They're really at top. They're going to Super Bowls every year. The fan base and the organization might be a little down on kickers after that 1990 Super Bowl. Scott Norwood misses the field goal to win it. You're coming from Tampa Bay, where you guys weren't winning much in the early 90s. Your thoughts being a kicker, coming in and replacing Scott Norwood after you saw what happened with him after he missed that field goal in the 1990 Super Bowl against the Giants.
Here is what I found out about the fans of Buffalo. When I signed from Tampa up there, I flew up, met my agent who was from Toronto, and my parents drove in because I grew up an hour or 15 minutes away from Buffalo in Oakville. And this was kind of a celebration that, I'm coming home. I'm coming to the closest NFL team that we have. And I get there, and there's 1,500 Scott Norwood fans booing my arrival.
Oh, really?
So, no, they didn't hate kickers.
Wow.
They loved Scott Norwood.
Man.
They loved him, and I'll tell you why. Because after that game, he took full responsibility for the miss. He was, for me, the epitome of a classy athlete. And I said, you know what? I have big shoes to fill. Forget about that one game. And I remember watching that game with my dad, actually, and that was my home field. That was in Tampa against the Giants. That was my rookie year. I knew exactly what kick he had. I thought he hit the ball well, and it just didn't curl left. Most right-footed kickers, the ball curls left. That one stayed outside, as we know. But at the end of the day, he had a brilliant career.
Sure.
And even the following season, he won a lot of games to get them back into the Super Bowl. I guess it was inevitably, or ended up in Minnesota against the Skins.
Yeah.
But he had a great season that year too. So when I went to sign with Buffalo, he was still there. He was still at minicamp, but we went head to head. And I think they wanted to make sure that, because that was only my third year, I think they wanted to make sure that I was the right guy.
Right.
And that was tough because I know a lot of his teammates really liked him too. So I don't think Buffalo may have been upset about that kick, but they certainly love Scott for the person that he still is.
On the phone with a 16-year NFL kicker, Steve Christie. He was good 78% of the time over his career. Now, Steve, you're a humble guy, so you might not know this. I would certainly know this if I was you, but you are the answer to a pretty cool trivia question. You still hold the record for the longest made field goal in Super Bowl history. Going back to 1993, Super Bowl 28 against the Dallas Cowboys, your 54-yard field goal in that Super Bowl is still the record. Did you know that?
Yes. It's been a while, though. It's been a while.
And, I think the next three or four came after you. I think that your record you broke from, I think it was Rich Carless, the barefooted kicker from the Broncos.
Rich Carless, I think, had a 47 or something.
Correct.
And what was really neat about that was, unfortunately, as we all know, we lost that game, but that was a 54-yarder in Atlanta against the Cowboys, and that was I was in the first half. It was a good little lift for us because we were sputtering a little bit. And, we got 3 out of something. And then at halftime we went in. We were up. But, of course, things happened in the second half that we'd rather not relive. But at the end of the day, though, about a week later, I get a letter from Rich saying congratulations. I thought that was really classy move by Rich Carlos. So that's why I knew we won, because of the letter.
Right.
And I don't even know my own stats. Like I know some things, but I just thought it was pretty cool that somebody was actually paying attention to that. I think part of it is that somewhere along the way they moved the spot. So instead of where the ball was snapped, it's from where the ball is kicked. So if you miss from 54 somewhere, the other team starts there where the ball was hit. So you're talking an extra 8 yards back. And I think that may have something to do with whether you send your kicker out for a long one or not. Sure. Now, of course, at the end of the half, end of the game, anything's fair game. And now you've got young guys that, can really hit a ball. I mean, I've been very fortunate to have that record, but I know someday it'll get broken for sure.
Now, I know your career long in a game was 59 yards. What's the longest field goal you ever hit in practice or in camp?
The longest with a snap and a hold in camp with Chris Moore and Ethan Albright snapping was 71.
Wow.
I tried at 72 and it hit the upright. So I knew that was my max. 71 was my max. But again, in a game with a full out rush, the trajectory of the ball, it's going to come out low over the line. And again, if I don't make it, the other team's offense starts way back there. So you're better off punting.
On the phone with us, Steve Christie, former NFL place kicker, kicked for the Bills for 9 years from 1992 to 2000, was in 2 Super Bowls with the Buffalo Bills and played in that Music City Miracle. We'll talk about that in just a little bit with Steve. Did you always know, or did you always want to be a kicker, Steve?
No, I was playing soccer. I was with the Canadian Junior World Cup development squad, and we were getting ready for the Junior World Cup, and I didn't start kicking till I was 17 up in Canada, and back then we had 13 grades. So in my 12th grade, I kicked, and that summer I taught myself how to punt. So my senior year, I kicked and punted and was playing soccer, and ended up playing soccer and football with William & Mary. When the football coach let me play soccer over there, that's another story. But, at the end of the day, I was going to attempt to play, to be a pro soccer player. And back then, late, it would have been the mid-'80s, playing pro soccer, the Canadian in Europe was really tough. So, the whole football thing was sort of like, hey, wait a minute, this may be an opportunity to, get into college. It certainly wasn't, everybody wants to say, okay, I want to play pro, but, to be realistic, for me, I knew how important it was to end up in a college down in the States. Nothing against Canadian football, or Canadian college football, but there's just so much more exposure. Even at William & Mary, which is a small school, it was still 1AA back then, and we played some pretty decent Ivy League teams, and that's what made it sort of special too. And long story short, I was on a recruiting trip to another Canadian school, Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick, when I got the call from William & Mary saying, we're going to offer you a full ride to kick and punt. And it was kind of surreal because I had just been there for my 8th grade trip, I think it was. We went to Washington, D.C., and spent a day in Williamsburg, and everybody kind of said, okay, there's the College of William & Mary. That's the Oriend building. It's the second oldest school in the country. Blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Little did I know, a few years later, I'm flying down there to sign, and that was it. I was really lucky to get that deal.
Let me ask you this. I don't think there's statistical evidence to prove one way or the other. This has become a little bit more popular after you've retired. This icing of the kicker, waiting until the last second to call the timeout. As a kicker, do you think it is worthwhile for coaches to try to ice a kicker?
Well, I'll tell you what's funny about that is, and I got to throw another William & Mary tidbit in here, Marv Levy coached my coach at William & Mary, Jimmy Laycock, who coached McDermott and Tomlin. And Kelso, and myself, and John Cannon. Jimmy Laycock, who was coached by Marv Levy, coached all of us. I mean, that's a little tidbit. But anyway, I joked with Marv one day. I said, hey, Coach, this whole icing thing. And, we were kind of like, well, I understand the whole idea of it. But finally somebody asked me about it in the press, and I said, okay, enough of this icing the kicker. I'm Canadian. I don't know who they think they're doing it to. You're wasting time because, believe me, if it comes down to the end of the game, that's what I love. I love the pressure kick. This is why I'm a kicker. I love the opportunity to finish the game off. If you're going to waste time and ice me, guarantee you I'm going to make it. Guarantee you I'm going to make it. You're making it work for yourself.
Right.
That's what, and from then on, everybody kind of laughed. Like, if we were coming down to coming down the field and for a game winner, whether it's regulation, overtime, whatever, we're all kind of looking around going, are they going to bother? Are they going to do it? Come on. But then again, what I would do was, if they would, and I think they did for the Houston game, I'm not sure, but I would always walk away from the huddle, because they're always chirping, the other team's always talking. You walk away from the huddle, you turn around and you say, look, this is a 32-yarder or a 40-yarder or whatever. I do this in practice every day. I'm going to do it again.
Yep.
And that's what I tell my kids now that I'm coaching. It's like, man, you mentally tell yourself you're making every kick regardless of the situation. And I think there's something to that. The positivity, the vibe of being successful and being confident in what you're doing certainly helps. I mean, as a kicker and you're going in there and you start doubting yourself, whether they ice you or not, you're not in the right job. So I kind of made it a challenge, like, go ahead, ice me.
So I want to jump ahead to the 1999 season. You guys make it to the playoffs. You're 11-5. Doug Flutie is your quarterback for the entire regular season. Then you get into the playoffs, go to Tennessee for the wild card game, and Wade Phillips makes the call to bench Doug Flutie and go with Rob Johnson. Now, some people have said and speculated that pressure came down from Ralph Wilson, the owner, in the front office, that Rob had been signed to a huge contract and that he was just sitting on the bench, and Ralph did not want to pay Rob Johnson that much money to sit on the bench. But the fan base absolutely loved Doug Flutie. He was this underdog story, 5'0", could barely see over the line, somehow got the ball down the field, was very elusive, was one of the best scrambling quarterbacks back in his day, and the fan base, just the blue-collar fan base, just loved Doug Flutie. So the fan base was very upset when Wade made this decision. That can really splinter a locker room, because some guys are going to be with one guy, some guys are going to be with the other guy. So I think the quarterback controversy under Wade with Doug and Rob, and then the inability back then to win a playoff game when the Bills were so used to getting to AFC championship games and Super Bowls, really led to Wade's downfall.
Yeah, and I have to throw this in there. When I was only with the Giants one year, but I was there. Kurt Warner and I sat together on the road trips on the plane, and he got benched for Eli, even though Kurt was 5-2.
Yep.
That was very similar to this. Well, Kurt was, of course, Super Bowl MVP, and he's getting benched. Right. Doug Flutie gets benched, and Doug won, 10 games? 11 games? Yep. And, Rob gets the nod because he beat the Colts in a nothing, week 17 game that the Colts were in, we were in. Nothing against Rob. Rob got us in position to win that game against Tennessee, but it was tough. It was really tough. It was really tough because I ended up signing in San Diego, and there Doug and I were sitting against, we're sitting with each other again in the locker room, going deja vu or what? Yeah. And that's when Drew Brees came in, and there's Dougie again. Like, man,
yes,
what? You can't sign to these teams anymore, Doug. You got to go somewhere you can play. And he could, man, could he play?
He could.
But yeah, that whole deal in Tennessee was being an older, not super old, but being an older player then, I felt that was not the right call. It was definitely not the right call for the momentum of the team at the time. The older guys that were paying attention knew that Doug had done the work. He earned the spot. He earned the right to start against the Titans. And, I love Ralph Wilson, but if it didn't come down from him, that's one thing I'd say, no.
Yeah.
No. Dougie would have played very well, and I think here's the shame of it all. Well, two things. Bruce DeHaven got fired the next day, which was our special teams coach. That was absolutely ridiculous. And then I really felt that year with what we had, offensive, defensively, and special teams, I thought we would have given the Rams one heck of a run in that Super Bowl final.
Yep.
I thought we had the machine to do it. We had the strength to do it, and we'll never know because of the call it a forward lateral, call it whatever you want. Music City Miracle, that never should have happened.
Right.
It never should have happened.
Now, when I went back and watched video of the game, so you kick the go-ahead field goal with 16 seconds left. And now you guys got to kick off. It was a pretty windy day, so I think it would have been difficult for you to punch it through the back of the end zone. But you guys chose to pooch kick it. You kicked it high and you kicked it short. Tennessee caught it at around the 25-yard line. Now, when I asked Wade about it, he said the only thing that he wishes he could have done better, or you guys could have done better. Because I said, what about the squibbing thing? Because that's popular nowadays as well, more popular than it was back then. He said the ball was supposed to go outside of the numbers more than it did, and that's why that play was a little more successful, because you guys didn't pin them to one side. But when you go back and look at it...
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The ball went where it was supposed to go. I can tell you that. What wasn't anticipated was the fact that there was a pitch and then a throwback. Mm-hmm. The ball, the call is pooch kick, right?
Okay.
If Wade should have, that's the first I heard about it. I mean, that's the first I heard about it.
Right.
That ball, and I talked to Bruce about it. He said, no, there's nothing wrong with that kick.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with the kick. And I'm not being defensive on this. I've heard a lot of nonsense about this afterwards, believe me.
Right.
Because like I said, they fired Bruce the next day.
Right.
That never should have happened.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, whatever comes out of that, if Wade's calling me on that, that's a good one. That's a good one. Again, there's a lot more background to that I'm going to reveal. That's all I'm going to say. I had the opportunity. I was working for Sportsnet up in Toronto covering I was covering that Super Bowl.
Right.
And I had an opportunity to interview Al Lowry and Dyson.
Yeah.
So there's the three of us reliving that particular play, and that was pretty unusual. It's fun to do, but Alan told me they had that set up to take a squib kick. So when I hit the ball in the air, they did not anticipate that. Right. But it ended up working out pretty well.
You played for three great coaches, Marv Levy in Buffalo, Marty Schottenheimer in San Diego, and Tom Coughlin in New York with the Giants. Which one of those coaches did you prefer or learn a lot from when you played for them?
I think Marv, because Marv always preached resilience. He always preached when things are down, it's how you react, especially in the league. You know, and especially as a kicker, you know, you miss one. Right. Are you going to dwell on it, or are you going to go out and make the next one?
Right.
And that's just so true with our job. You know, short memory kind of thing. If you're a safety or a corner and you get burned on a route, well, are you going to let it happen again? It's all about resilience. It's how you react. It's how you behave as a professional.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the major items that stuck with me with Marv was that he was a real teacher.
Yeah.
I mean, he only yelled a couple times. I was with him for a number of years, and he never raised his voice. He didn't have to. He had that respect. Right. But again, he was a teacher, and people could relate. Whereas, you know, I've had other coaches that jump up and down and shout, and after 10 minutes, you're like, what?
Right.
What did you say?
Right.
You know, but as a kicker, I'm sort of, you know, like I said, we are kind of on our own. And,
sure.
and I was always my biggest critic. And, you know, there's a lot of times like, hey, man, I know I missed a kick. I don't need to hear about it. I already know that. I already know that's my job.
Right.
But again, for the younger guys, you know, when I got to San Diego and Schottenheimer was there, he's all over the rookies. Guess what? I remember what I was like as a rookie.
Right.
Yeah, you should get yelled at a little bit.
Right.
Because you're screwing up somehow, I can guarantee you.
Right.
So at the end of the day, you know, the younger guys need to be led not only by their head coach, but also the older players. And I think there's something to that. And Marv believed in that as well, because he had Bruce Smith and Thurman and Talley and Jim and, I mean, you know, Lofton and Andre, a bunch of guys that delivered day in, day out. What an example for young guys coming in.
No doubt about it.
That's why, you know, you don't need to yell because you've got all that work's being done by your veterans. And that's a good thing to have.
On the phone with us, Steve Christie, longtime NFL kicker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Buffalo Bills, the San Diego Chargers, and the New York Giants. Steve, you're retired now. You're in Florida. You're selling some real estate. You also do some painting as well, correct?
Yes, I keep busy painting, and you know, we do our real estate deals. We work with mostly people from Western New York. occasionally nor'easters from wherever. But yeah, my wife Kelly is she's pretty good at it, but she's also pretty picky. And we deal with friends and friends of friends, and that's how it's always worked that way for us. And I'm kind of like the mop boy for her. I do the odd jobs here and there and make sure that we're getting our closing statements from the lenders on time, and little things like that. That's what I do. But she's the bulldog. She's out there selling and getting people into houses that they need to get into, and I think it's that part's been fun. But back to the art, I absolutely love it. That's what I majored in at William & Mary, was studio art, and I paint as much as I can, and it's been pretty therapeutic for me. I just did one for the Smocks for Jocks at the Super Bowl, and that's through the NFL Players Association. So we sold the original there, and then I made prints for, I think we sold about 10 more prints off of one particular piece. But I have a couple on Instagram and Facebook, but I have a number that are finished that, quite frankly, I probably need to get my youngest daughter to do it for me. She'll take the pictures and put them up there for me, and I'll say, okay, there you go. Done.
Now, people around here are very familiar with this band. My wife is familiar with this band. You actually represented some bands as well after you retired, Steve, and one of them from the Western New York area, Big Leg Emma.
Yes, I managed them for, unfortunately, their last year. Their last year of existence, but there were the two original members. It was a great experience, but they had lasted for about 12 years. When I got there was a few things going on that just couldn't be repaired, unfortunately. And I think I didn't want to sound like the bad guy, but I said, look, we have situations that need to be dealt with off the stage, and they just weren't repairable. And I think that happens with a lot of bands, which is why I really don't do it much anymore. It's very short-lived. The NFL and music are similar that way. They're both modes of entertainment, but also very short-lived in some cases.
Well, listen, Steve, great job. Thank you so much for coming on, and it was fun talking with you, and we'd love to have you as our in-house kicker expert. If there's any controversy with kicking in the upcoming NFL season, we'd love to have you on. Thanks so much, my friend, for coming on, and be well and be healthy.
Well, you know where to find me.
All right.
And stay safe.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much. That is Steve Christie, the great kicker for the Buffalo Bills. Let's take a break. We'll come back. It's the Joel Oriend Show on 92.1 The Team.
Feel it, the power of the Bills. Feel it with the Buffalo Bills.
It's 92.1 The Team contest and promo rules time. Listen up. Here we go. Don't call to win more than once a month. Employees of 92.1 The Team cannot win the prize. Don't forget to pick up the prize within 30 days. If you call to win, your voice goes on the radio. You're responsible for all taxes associated with winning. You cannot exchange the prize for cash or a different prize.
Lamax Pro Wrench Tire and Auto Center and Body Shop are open for business 6 days a week during this corona crisis. Think of Lamax for new tire sales, major and minor repairs, and the best fast oil change in Hornell for only $19.95. Lamax has served the Hornell area for 50 years and will continue to serve the motoring public with great values on cars and trucks. Their Pro Wrench Body Shop manager, Chris Doran, will handle your auto body work quickly and compile all insurance claims completely. Buy your next quality used car, truck, or van at LamaxAutomax.com. That's LamaxAutomax.com. Thank you from everyone at Lamax, 193 Seneca Street, Hornell. Phone 324-4440. That's 324-4440 for Lamax, Pro Wrench Tire and Auto Center and Body Shop.
Welcome back to the Joel Oriend Show.
Was that good? Oh, it sucked? Perfect.
On 92.1 The Team.
All right, well, that does it. We're just about out of here. Another show in the books. I would say it's, I guess it's, wasn't a bad show. I mean, I don't know, Bill, what did you think of our show today?
Yeah, I think that's, hot water under the bridge.
Yeah, but, I thought Tanner did a great job today. I mean, he's on remote location, broadcasting from his his ping pong table in his basement. What did you think of Tanner's performance?
I couldn't ask for him to give us any more than he's given us.
That's true. I concur with that. I think he did a great job. So let's get to the Tanner trivia question one more time, and then we'll do Today in Sports History and get out of here.
All right. Name the only franchise since the 1970 NFL-AFL merger to not draft a future Hall of Famer in the first round. Choices being Jets, Browns, Eagles, or Packers.
Now, I almost feel like the Browns, they don't have a lot of guys recently, especially in the Hall of Fame. But they do have a lot of first-round draft picks, so the odds would be on their side that they have done that. I know Joe Thomas is a Hall of Famer. I don't know if he was a number one draft pick. The Jets, boy, I'm just gonna go with the Jets.
Nope, it is actually the Philadelphia Eagles. The Jets took John Riggins in 1971. Browns took Ozzie Newsome in 1978. And Joe Thomas, not a Hall of Famer yet, but he almost certainly will be. The Packers took James Lofton in 1978. So that leaves the Eagles as the only team to not draft a first rounder. Now, they did take Reggie White in the first round of the supplemental draft in 1984, but this was only focused on the NFL draft. The supplemental draft was just for players that had contracts in the CFL and USFL, and Reggie had a contract in the USFL and eventually went on to go for the Eagles after that league folded and the Eagles had his right.
That was a good question. Let's wrap up here, Tanner, with Today in Sports History.
Today in 1985, for the second time, Wayne Gretzky scored 7 points in a Cup game with 3 goals and 4 assists, and a lot of NFL draft history today as well. In 1993, Washington State quarterback Drew Bledsoe was picked by the New England Patriots. In 2009, Georgia quarterback Matthew Stafford was the first pick of the Detroit Lions. In 2013, Central Michigan offensive tackle Eric Fisher was the number 1 overall pick of the Kansas City Chiefs. And last year, 2019, Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray was taken number 1 by the Arizona Cardinals. Born on this day in 1962, NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, and today in 1976, the big fundamental, Tim Duncan, former power forward of the San Antonio Spurs, was born today. And that does it for Today in Sports History.
All right, there you go. Be good, everybody. If not, have fun trying.
Yeah, I think that's, water under the bridge.
Caleb, Oriend. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening. Be good.